Have you ever experienced a fear that was so strong that it took over all of your thoughts? The fear of losing someone you love very much. A fear like that can push us to the edge, making us want to stop this loss in any way possible. This fear, while deeply human, can lead us into a labyrinth of anxiety and suffering. The truth of loss is something we all face in life. The pain of being apart from people we care about is something everyone feels, and the Stoics thought a lot about it. Stoicism is an old philosophy that gives us a new way to think about attachment, loss, and how to deal with the death of a loved one. Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "We should always be ready for the unexpected, because the loss of those we care about is out of our control." Even though this feeling seems harsh, it holds a deep truth. While we cannot change the loss itself, the Stoics teach us that we can change how we respond to it. The Stoic approach to dealing with a loved one's death will be explained in this video. We'll talk about how to accept your normal grief-related emotions without feeling overwhelmed by them, how to treasure the memories without letting them hold you back, and most importantly, how to find peace and strength during one of the hardest times in life. The way our lives go is frequently determined by our attachment to people. This strong emotional link, which is seen as a sign of being human, comes from our genes. We are built to connect with others, and those relationships can range from gentle affection to intense, sometimes crushing addiction. One of the most important ideas in Stoicism is that people are not our possessions. This is especially true when it comes to our relationships. Our natural reaction is to feel like something that belongs to us has been taken when we face the loss of a friend, the exit of a partner, or the separation of a child. But Epictetus tells us that these things shouldn't be seen as losses, but as returns, because these people were never really ours to begin with. His advice, "Never say of anything, 'I have lost it, but I have returned it,' encourages us to change how we think about attachment and relationships. This is what the fourth book of Epictetus's talks says about the Stoic philosophy. Outside factors, even our best relationships, are out of our control. People and possessions cannot be considered to be under the idea of control. Because life is temporary, the things we think of as our possessions can be taken away in a moment. Epictetus himself experienced this fact when the idea of ownership included literally owning other people through slaves. Even though most people don't agree with these kinds of behaviors anymore, the feeling of ownership and control in relationships still exists in more subtle ways. Friends, family, and even co-workers are often treated as if they owe us their time, attention, and behavior, even when we're not aware of it. Even though this sense of privilege isn't as obvious as some older types of ownership, it still shows that people don't understand how relationships and attachment work. Epictetus's lessons make it clear that everything in the world, including people, is affected by the revolution of the universe, which is the natural circle of change and transformation that runs through everything. This idea shows how pointless it is to try to have complete control over these outside factors. A common human tendency that frequently results in emotional turmoil and suffering is our fight to maintain control in the face of life's transience. A different road is supported by the Stoic approach. Instead of holding on to a fake sense of ownership and control over other people, it teaches people to accept that life is unpredictable and short. This kind of acceptance doesn't mean apathy or emotional distance. Instead, it means that we have a deep understanding of how our lives and relationships work. We free ourselves from the suffering brought on by holding on to people and possessions by realizing that they are not really ours. This point of view tells us to enjoy our relationships while they last, rather than treating them like possessions. With a calm and wise approach, we can deal with the difficulties of human relationships by adopting the Stoic outlook. It teaches us to love and connect with others without expecting anything permanent or in our control. It helps us find peace in knowing that everything and everyone is a part of the revolution of the universe, which is always changing. Emotional assent. Passion, a state in which one's emotions are very strongly involved, is often linked to the idea of emotional love. Many people consider being in love to be one of the best emotional states possible in modern culture, where the experience of passionate love is frequently honored. But the Stoics thought that emotions were bad, especially those that had to do with love. Stoicism divides emotions into 4 groups, which were talked about in the video How Not to Be Pathetic. These groups are pleasure, hunger, grief, and fear. All of these feelings tend to come together when there is attachment, especially emotional attachment. Being with a loved one makes you happy. Being without them makes you hungry. The fear of losing someone we love is always present, and their passing can cause us a lot of pain. These emotional reactions, according to the Stoics, are caused by mistaken assumptions about our experiences. Stoics believe that there is nothing inherently good or bad about someone being there or not being there, about loss or death. These things that happen are neutral parts of life. But when we call things good or bad without thinking about them, we spark these strong emotions because our thinking is off track. Epictetus gives us a useful approach to controlling these illogical thoughts and, by extension, our emotions. This is what you should do from morning to evening. Start with the smallest, most easily broken items, like a pot or a cup. Then move on to a shirt, a small dog, a horse, a piece of land, and finally, your body and its parts, like your children, wife, and brothers. Take a look around and throw these things away. Purify your opinions out of fear that something that isn't yours might attach itself to them or grow with them and cause you pain if it comes loose. Epictetus says to gradually separate yourself from the outside world, starting with lifeless things and moving on to more important things in life, like relationships. In our own lives, we frequently face situations where our emotional ties make it difficult for us to stay logical. Sometimes our emotions get the best of us, making it hard to think straight. In these situations, the Stoic approach of separating from our ties and focusing on good judgment is very important. Stoicism says that the ability to deal with strong ties and mentally survive the loss of loved ones comes from learned judgment and focused practice. Stoicism doesn't call for a life without feelings or love. Instead, it calls for a life where our emotions are controlled by logic and our ties don't get in the way of our ability to think and act wisely. A healthy connection with our emotions is central to the Stoic approach to emotional consent. It shows us how to feel love and attachment while still being in charge of how these emotions affect our deeds and well-being as a whole. This practice makes it possible to live a life filled with deep love and inner peace, where logic and feeling work together in a way that is directed by knowledge and understanding. Stoicism teaches us to enjoy the good things in life and the beauty of our relationships without becoming overwhelmed by our emotions. This philosophy gives us a way to become emotionally strong and clear, which helps us handle life's problems with ease and calm. Letter from Seneca. Should a Stoic stay emotionless in the face of loss is the question that comes up. Stoicism, which is frequently misunderstood as a philosophy that encourages emotional avoidance, actually offers a more complex view of dealing with emotions, particularly loss. Stoicism stresses how important it is to stay calm, but it also recognizes how hard it can be to control your emotions. This process is neither quick nor easy, and even well-known Stoic thinkers like Epictetus, Chrysippus, and Seneca had emotional problems. Proto-emotions, which are instant, natural emotional reactions over which we have little control, are an idea that comes from Stoicism. Examples include crying after a sad event or the startled reaction in the face of danger. Stoicism doesn't say that these normal responses should be stifled. Instead, it focuses on how we deal with and respond to these emotions afterward, stressing how important it is to think clearly to keep illogical emotions at bay. In one of his writings, Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, gives helpful advice on how to deal with loss. This letter was written while he was banned to Corsica in 41 AD because of a charge against him. Seneca offers advice on how to deal with sadness in his letters with his mother Helvia, who was struggling with his loss. Seneca suggested a reasonable approach to sadness and cautioned against unrestrained sorrow. He talked about how their ancestors dealt with grief. For example, they only let a woman mourn her husband for 10 months, which limited their sadness. He writes, "They didn't tell them they couldn't mourn, but they did put limits on their grief, because it's a foolish weakness to give in to endless grief when you lose someone close to you, but it's also an unnatural hardness of heart to show no grief at all. The best middle ground between love and hard common sense is to feel regret and hold it in." In contrast to Epictetus's idea of total indifference in the face of loss, this viewpoint offers a more reasonable approach. He knows that most people, including his mother, are not Stoic experts and will naturally feel sad. He doesn't say to completely put out emotions, but to keep them in check. He told his mother that studying philosophy would help her heal and make her feel better, which made her sad. Stoicism's main idea is that balance is the virtue that guides Seneca's advice on how to deal with loss. You need to find a way to feel and show your emotions without becoming too overwhelmed by them. This approach to grief is both compassionate and pragmatic, recognizing the normal human reaction to loss while promoting a controlled and sensible expression of those emotions. Seneca's letter provides a kind yet strict framework for dealing with loss. In conclusion, while promoting a thoughtful approach to controlling these emotions, it accepts the inevitable nature of emotional reactions to loss. Seneca supports emotional strength and well-being by encouraging moderation and logical involvement with philosophy. This is similar to the Stoic goal of living a healthy and good life.